The village was slowly dying. A creeping darkness, the Ashen Blight, devoured everything in its path. Trees withered into grey, lifeless husks. The air hung heavy and grey with despair.
Sighs, I watched helpless as my beloved home succumbed.
The blight started very slowly. A subtle, chilling presence in the air. A strange grey mist loomed on the horizon. Now it was an unstoppable, relentless force. It consumed everything in its dark path.
I knew the ancient stories, whispers of a forgotten ancient age, tales of a magical blight that almost destroyed Evelian. It was just a legend. Until now, it wasn't.
Elders spoke of an ancient prophecy, a legend passed down through generations. It spoke of a time of darkness, a time when all hope seemed lost.
The prophecy told of a single ember, the flame of eternity, a hidden power capable of pushing back the blight. It was a beacon of hope, a whisper in the growing darkness.
Leira clung to these stories. They were all she had left. Her family, her friends, swallowed by the relentless grey tide. She refused to let the blight take her hope too. Driven by desperation, Leira sought answers in the ruins of her village. The blight spared nothing and no one. She searched for anything, a sign, a clue.
Breathless, I stumbled upon the remains of my grandmother's house. A faint, warm glow emanated from beneath a pile of rubble. I dug frantically, my heart pounding in my chest.
There, nestled amongst the ashes, lay a small, glowing ember. It pulsed with a gentle heat, a stark contrast to the cold, oppressive blight surrounding her.
Could this be it? The flame of eternity?
Leira held the ember, its warmth spreading through her. It felt familiar, comforting, like a long-forgotten memory. But with it came a heavy responsibility. The weight of the prophecy settled on her young shoulders.
Determined I was chosen. Chosen to find the flame of eternity. Chosen to save my world. But how could I, a simple village girl, possibly hope to succeed where countless others had failed? Fear threatened to consume me, but I pushed it down. I thought of my family, my friends, their faces etched forever in my memory. I wouldn't let them down. I wouldn't let Evelian fall.
Guided by the ember's warmth, Leira ventured into the blight. She walked for days, the ashen landscape stretching endlessly before her. Forgotten villages and abandoned cities stood as grim reminders of the blight's destructive power.
As I journeyed, the ember pulsed. It showed me visions.
Visions of a lost age when Evelian thrived, a time of powerful mages who wielded the flame of eternity, their radiant light pushing back the blight. These visions filled Leira with both awe and terror.
They revealed the true potential of the ember I carried. They also showed the devastating consequences if I failed.
Leira reached the ruins of Leira, a once great city now swallowed by the blight. Here, among the crumbling towers and desolate squares, the ember pulsed with a newfound urgency. It led her to a hidden chamber deep beneath the ruined city.
In the center of the chamber stood a towering statue, its features worn smooth by time. As I approached, the ember flared, bathing the chamber in an otherworldly light.
The statue, once cold and lifeless, began to glow. Leira felt a surge of power course through her. The ember wasn't just a guide, it was a key. A key to unlocking the true potential of the flame of eternity that lay dormant within her. Word of Leira's journey and the ember's power spread. It reached the ears of a secretive cult, the cult of embers, who worshipped the blight and its destructive power. They saw the flame of eternity as a threat, an obstacle to their dark ambitions.
The cult sent their agents after Leira. They ambushed her in the ruins of Leira, their eyes burning with fanaticism and greed. They wanted the ember for themselves. They wanted to control its power.
Leira fought back, the flame of eternity responding to her will. She unleashed bursts of radiant energy, driving her attackers back. They underestimated her. She was no longer a scared village girl. She was the bearer of the flame.
The leader of the cult of embers, A masked figure radiating an aura of chilling power emerged from the shadows. His presence was overwhelming, a dark force that seemed to consume the very light around him. He offered Leira a choice: join the cult, and together they would rule Evelion or watch as they plunged the world into eternal darkness. The weight of his words hung heavily in the air, a promise of power and a threat of destruction.
Join us, Leira. His voice was a whisper, yet it echoed with a sinister promise, a temptation that was hard to ignore. Together, we can rule Evelion or watch as it falls into eternal darkness. The choice is yours. His hand extended, offering not just an alliance, but a future steeped in shadow.
Leira was torn. The decision weighed heavily on her heart. A battle between her desire for peace and the fear of what joining the cult would mean. The cult's offer was tempting. It promised an end to the conflict, a way to save her people from further suffering. But the price was steep. She could end the fight, spare Evelion from further suffering, but at what cost? The vision of a ruined city haunted her, a reminder of what was at stake. To side with them meant dooming her world to an even worse fate. The desolation she saw in her mind's eye was unbearable. She looked into the eyes of the cult leader and saw nothing but darkness. His gaze was empty, devoid of any true compassion or hope. He sought only power, not the salvation of Evelion. His intentions were clear, and they were far from noble. She knew what she had to do. With a deep breath, she steeled herself for the decision ahead. Leira would not be swayed by the promise of power. She would fight for Evelion, no matter the cost. Leira raised the ember high, its light banishing the shadows that clung to the chamber. The darkness seemed to writhe and retreat, as if it were a living entity being driven back by the sheer force of her will. She refused to be a pawn in their game. The cult had underestimated her resolve, thinking they could bend her to their will. But Leira was no ordinary warrior. She was a beacon of hope in a world teetering on the edge of despair. She would fight for the future of Evelion, even if it meant standing alone. The weight of her responsibility was immense, but she bore it with unwavering strength. Every step she took was a step towards reclaiming her homeland from the clutches of darkness.
The flame of eternity surged, responding to her defiance. It was as if the very essence of the flame recognized her determination and fed off it, growing brighter and more powerful with each passing moment. A wave of radiant energy erupted from her, engulfing the chamber. The sheer force of the light was overwhelming, a testament to the ancient power she now wielded. The cult members cried out, their shadows fleeing before the blinding light. They had sought to harness the power of the flame, but they were unworthy, and now they faced the consequences of their hubris. When the light subsided, they were gone, consumed by the very power they sought to control. The chamber was eerily silent, the only remnants of the cult being the tattered cloaks and robes scattered on the ground.
Leira emerged from the ruins of Elara, the flame of eternity blazing brightly in her hand. The ruins, once a place of despair, now seemed to shimmer with a newfound hope. The blight recoiled from her touch, its darkness receding before the light. It was a tangible sign that the tide was turning, that the forces of darkness were losing their grip on Evelion. She was Evelion's last hope. The weight of that responsibility was immense, but it also fueled her determination. She knew that failure was not an option, and she would not fail. With the flame of eternity in her grasp and the hope of Evelion in her heart, Leira was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The dawn of a new era was upon them, and she would lead the way. Leira's journey wasn't easy. She faced treacherous paths, harsh climates, and the constant threat of ambushes. Every step she took was fraught with danger, but her resolve never wavered. The Blight was a relentless enemy, fueled by the despair and destruction it caused. It spread like a plague, consuming everything in its path, leaving nothing but ruin and sorrow. The land of Evelion was on the brink of collapse. But Leira was not alone. She found allies in the most unexpected places. Warriors, mages, and even common folk who had lost everything to the Blight stood by her side. They saw in her a chance to reclaim their world. Inspired by her courage, others joined her cause. Her bravery ignited a spark of hope in their hearts, a hope that had long been extinguished by the Blight's darkness. They rallied to her banner, ready to fight for a brighter future. They formed a resistance, fighting for their homes, for their future. They trained tirelessly, honing their skills and preparing for the battles to come. Each member of the resistance knew the stakes and was willing to lay down their life for the cause.
And Leira, fueled by the flame of eternity, led them. The mystical flame gave her strength and power beyond measure, allowing her to stand against the Blight's most fearsome creatures. She was their guiding light in the darkest of times. She became a beacon of hope, a symbol of defiance against the encroaching darkness. Her presence alone was enough to inspire courage in the hearts of her followers. She was the light that pierced through the shadows. She became known throughout the land as Leira, the Flamebringer, the savior of Ivelion. Tales of her deeds spread far and wide, and her name became synonymous with hope and resilience. She was celebrated as a hero, a legend in her own time.
The fight for Ivelion was far from over. The Blight was a formidable foe, and the battles ahead would be fierce and unforgiving. But the people of Ivelion were no longer alone in their struggle. But with Leira at its heart, burning bright with the flame of eternity, there was finally hope. Her unwavering spirit and the power of the flame gave the people the strength to stand against the darkness. A new dawn was breaking over Ivelion. The first rays of light signaled the beginning of a new era, one where the Blight's hold would be broken and peace would be restored. A dawn painted in the radiant colors of hope. The land of Ivelion, once shrouded in darkness, now glowed with the promise of a brighter future, all thanks to Leira, the Flamebringer.